there's a lot of people that are out there touting, hey, you've got to get CMMC 2.0 compliant. Look at the guys that have decades of experience. CMMC certification is for the protection of CUI data. So really the government wants to make sure their supply chain is secure at all levels. And it used to be a self-assessment right up to 1.0. They've gone into the 2.0. They're kind of requiring an outside group to come in to make sure that you are compliant with the parts that you're making for the federal government. And so there's a lot of action in it right now. There's a lot of shops at all different levels that are seeking out, how do I go about doing this? And I work with a group that has made the easy button. Mainly, it's again, for a defense side of the equation. So we need to protect our supply chain. And the only way to really protect it is to push down some compliancy from the federal government side on some of the parts that are being made. And there are different levels of parts that would require different levels of CMMC compliance. But on its very basic level, we have to make sure that the supplier, any of the small to medium suppliers that supply the primes or the federal government, they have the right systems in place to protect all sides of the equation. So we've actually been connecting shops for a little bit over 3 decades. And so we've seen just about every connection that you can make to a piece of equipment on the shop floor. There have been so many different protocols over the years, and some of those protocols have security holes in them. So we have to kind of treat the shop floor as the untrusted environment. And we take those protocols and we bring them back to an edge device that then communicates with the trusted side of the equation. The information that's being shared can be bidirectional. So a lot of times there's a recipe or a CNC program, or for an additive machine, again, what actually is going to build this part. And that data, we need to make sure that stays within the enclave of the security tenant, let's call it. The other data that's highly important is the production data and the KPIs that we're monitoring. The shop floors that are doing it, you see a lot of these andon type systems where you see a lot of colors. There's a lot of folks that are in the game nowadays. 20 years ago, not so much, but nowadays we really are tying the ERP and the MES layer to the floor, and we're making that data transparent. And the reason why it needs to be transparent is there are people at all levels, from the operator, from the top floor to the shop floor, that need to look at that data in different ways. So the operator might want to know, okay, what's my next 2 jobs that are coming up on this equipment? Or where am I needed next, right? All the way up to the guy that's scheduling the floor that has a little bit more knowledge of the ERP system. Well, that material didn't show up, or these guys called out sick, or I don't have that resource. So how do I shift around so that I can still be productive? Because at the end of the day, we still want to cut those parts. You still want to deliver those parts on time in a quality manner. So the more data that we're bringing up from the floor opens us up, right? Because all of this equipment has different operating systems that aren't that secure, decades of different technologies. So we bring it up to that edge device, and then we share it up to either the manufacturing execution system, or MES, or we share it up to the ERP system. Ideally, the data sits in the ERP layer, because those are the guys that have all the shipping, they have all the supplier, they have the finances, that's where all the data really should reside. So a lot of shops, what they'll do is they'll create a separate VLAN for their shop floor. They'll monitor, they'll open up certain ports to bring data up into ERP or MES. But then there's one other layer where shops are going to the cloud, and depending upon the security that's needed, there's different kinds of clouds. GovCloud, there's N4, there's all kinds of different ways that data can get to another place. In a lot of the shops that we deal with, primarily within the defense and the aerospace sector, they want an on-prem solution, but there are in the cloud solutions, and how do you protect those? So we've teamed with other groups that are security experts. So it's like, okay, here's their ERP. They want to link this one plant, or they want to link multiple plants, or they want to link multiple plants in multiple countries. So this becomes a really tricky, not one solution for any one customer. And it really depends, from the large enterprise all the way down to the small guy. How do I get compliant? How do I make sure when I'm supplying those parts, the government's happy with what they see? And then if somebody comes in and audits me, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Really reach out to the experts. And then there's a lot of people that are out there touting, hey, you got to get CMMC 2.0 compliant. Look at the guys that have decades of experience. They're going to point you in the right direction. The guys that truly want to help out manufacturing, they're surrounded by groups, MSPs, IT providers, because this is where IT meets OT, right? So that they know the different groups that can help depending upon what the problem is. Like the small guy just needs to realize, okay, who do I turn to get that easy button? Because they don't want all this complexity. They're like, okay, I want to comply. I don't want to spend a ton of money, but I want to do government parts. And so I usually say reach out to a group that has the experts that are surrounded by other experts that can direct you in the right direction. There's a lot of we have a group here in Connecticut called Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology. There's a lot of MEPs. There's a lot of groups that are tied in with the government that understand what CMMC 2.0 compliancy is. And they can also direct you to the right people.